Okay. Now I'll turn it over to Tamarah Green. She is the director at Walpole Media and is going to talk about all what they do over there, what they do for us, and what they do for the rest of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. I'd like to first start by asking all of you a couple of questions, and you can just raise your hand. How many of you have Comcast or Verizon cable TV? Excellent. Who knows that before today, who knew that Walpole has its own cable television station? That's wonderful. Excellent. And how many of you have ever watched it, be it a select board meeting, football game? Excellent. I'll come back to those questions in a bit, but first I want to tell you a little bit about me. So I am the executive director of Walpole Media, and without fail, the first question I always get is, what is Walpole Media? Whoops. And what do you do? And how does it serve the town? How can I get involved, etc.? I'm going to answer all of those questions, and I'm going to give you a virtual tour in a bit. So first, I'd like to talk about how I even came here to Walpole Media. As a child, I always loved TV. I always loved watching TV, but I never imagined it might be possible to make a career out of it. So when it came to pick a college and a major, I did what every good girl did, and I let my mother decide for me. I had played the viola since I was a child, and she decided that I was going to become a music major. My mother was a music major. I have 4 older sisters. We all played an instrument, and somehow she thought I was the one who was going to fill her in her footsteps. I hated playing the viola, and I knew it wasn't for me. So that major lasted 1 year. And then I became a political science major. I was going to change the world, and I realized it was more about, making some sacrifices, and that didn't last either. And then randomly, I met a woman who lived in my dorm, and she said she was a communications major. And I said, a what now? I had never heard of it. And I'll never forget her words because they changed my life. She said, and I quote, "It's like, television." And so I joke that I thought she was majoring in watching television, but in reality, I knew that she was majoring in learning how to make television. So I literally went down the next day and I changed my major to communications. And my parents said, "Great, this is it. You're not changing again, so you better like it." And I did. So when I graduated, I had such high expectations and my head in the cloud. I just knew I was going to get a job immediately. After all, I had 1 internship at Channel 7 under my belt. What more could one possibly need? Unfortunately, I learned the hard way what so many other people have learned and learned in the past, which is getting a job outside of college is difficult, let alone one in your major. I spent the summer looking for jobs and temping. I spent the fall looking for jobs and temping. And you guessed it, I spent the winter looking for jobs and temping. And then my father read an article in our local newspaper that said that the local cable station was looking for volunteers. And he told me I should check it out. I had never heard of it. I didn't know we had a local cable television station. I didn't even know what local cable television was about. But I went down, and the rest, as they say, is history. Actually, it was a lot of long hours and hard work, but I had finally found my place. I learned almost as much in 3 months volunteering as I did in college. And that's not to belittle my college education, it's just to prove how plentiful the equipment was and how you learn because it's so hands-on. At college, we often had to wait a couple of days before we could get a camera, but at the local cable station, we were able to get a camera the day we requested one. I learned about the videos of basic shot composition. I learned how to edit. I learned how to produce and direct. And when we edited back then, it was tape to tape. So if you made a mistake, you couldn't undo it. You had to start all over again. So let's say you were making a 30-minute documentary. If you made a mistake at 18 minutes in, you had to start from that point and edit over everything that you had already done. 3 months into my tenure as a volunteer, a full-time position opened up, and I have zero recollection of this, but my then supervisor told me that I went up to her after I applied for the position, and I said that there were 3 interns who were volunteering. We all 3 applied, and she owed it to one of us to give us the job. That doesn't sound like me at all, but she swears by it, and she gave me the job. I loved going into work every single day because I was learning something new every single day. I learned what it meant also to be an employee, which they don't teach you in college. I joked that I was living the movie Wayne's World, if any of you remember it, because public access has a reputation of being a place where anyone, regardless of skill or talent, could be on TV. And that's still pretty much the case, but I'd like to think we're a lot more professional than the movie. It was incredibly rewarding seeing our volunteers flourish when they learned a new skill and then they mastered it. We didn't have the same equipment as PBS or channels 4, 5, or 7, so we were starting out at a disadvantage when people compared us to them, and that was another reason why people thought of Wayne's World when they thought of our programming. But you really do get some interesting characters. This is just a screenshot. I did a quick Google search for public access programming. Nothing that we do at Walpole Media. This is not from us. But again, you do get some interesting people, but you get a lot of really informative shows, people who want to share their thoughts, their could be cultural or religious beliefs, or it could be they love to knit and they want to do a knitting show. So what is public access and how does it work? In Massachusetts, every city or town has its own local cable television station. Smaller towns may share the facility, but most states have 1, maybe 2 regional centers for the entire state. So Massachusetts is very unique in that sense. Public access is a hyperlocal TV station. So at Walpole Media, we focus only on Walpole. Walpole people, Walpole places, events, etc. All of our programming takes place in Walpole, but if one of our producers wants to do a show, say, in Boston, we've got that local connection of the show producer who lives in Walpole. Most people in the industry refer to as a PEG station. PEG is an acronym for the 3 programs or the 3 channels that we program over: public, education, and government. The public channel includes lectures, concerts, everything that we do here at the Council on Aging, and volunteers can produce their own programs, or we can help them or do it for them. On the education channel, and that's just an example of some of the shows that we've done on the public channel. On the education channel, yes, it is sports, 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 but there's a lot more also. For example, one of my employees is doing a documentary on the film festival at the high school, so that's airing on the educational channel. And here are some of the games that we've covered. And on the government channel, we cover gavel-to-gavel coverage of municipal meetings. We do not do any editing whatsoever. So once the gavel starts, we start showing the programming, and we don't stop until either executive session or the gavel falls again. And we cover select board, school committee, finance committee, planning board, zoning board, conservation commission, Economic Development Commission, Water and Sewer, and we'll tape anything that any board or organization wants us to tape. All they have to do is ask. Our mission statement is that Walpole Media is dedicated to providing an electronic forum for the free exchange of information and ideas which reflect the talent, skills, interests, concerns, and diversity of the community. So how do we go about accomplishing that mission? Besides myself, there are 2 full-time employees, 1 part-time employee. We have student interns, and occasionally we use professional freelancers. But 95% of the programming is covered by my staff and myself. Anyone who lives, works, or goes to school in town or works for a nonprofit agency that serves the town of Walpole can become a volunteer. Public access is the definition of free speech. If someone wants to show a program or produce a program, we have to air it, regardless of the content. But we do have the following rules that we must abide by. We can't air anything that's obscene or profane. And when you're talking about art, that can be very challenging to decide what is obscene and what isn't obscene. Any lottery information, advertising, solicitation of money, or anything that constitutes libel, slander, invasion of privacy, or publicity rights. So we can't, for example, air anything that you would see or hear on TV or the radio or the movies because it's been copywritten and we don't have access to that. So how does one go about creating a program? Well, it all starts, as everything does, with an idea. So let's say you have a passion about knitting. Oh, so sorry about that. I skipped a slide. So I mentioned briefly that someone could ask us to air a program that was produced outside of Walpole. And that's what we call a bicycled program. So if Joe Cable has a cousin who lives in another community and they want us to air the program, the local connection, the Walpole connection, is that resident Joe Cable. Even though the program has been produced elsewhere, he would have to sign a waiver saying that the show doesn't violate any of our rules. And if someone were to complain about the program, we would put that person in contact with Joe Cable because Joe Cable is sponsoring the program. We do not do any censoring unless it violates any of the previous rules like slander or libel, but that's about it. So, as I said, how does one go about creating a program? It all starts with an idea. Let's say you have a passion for knitting and you want to share that passion with the community while also providing instructions on how to knit scarves, sweaters, mittens, etc. Your first decision is whether to shoot on location at your home, place of business, or elsewhere, or to tape it at our studio. There are benefits and drawbacks to both. This is our studio where you can produce an interview program, public affairs program, anything. The studio is the quickest way to produce a show. You simply book the time with us, make sure that you have a guest, a topic, and questions to ask, and then you're done. We do the rest. We do all of the technical work, and we'll do all of the editing and post-production work. We record live to tape, which means we start recording, and then when you're done with the show, we end. But the good thing is, if you make a mistake, we can do a take 2. So you might start out with your introduction like, hello, I'm Tamarah Green, and welcome to another edition of Knitter's Paradise. With me today is Pearl Knit, and today we'll be discussing our favorite sweater pattern. And 30 minutes later, you have a completed show with very little, if any, editing required. It doesn't even have to be 30 minutes. We oftentimes do just a 5-minute profile on someone. The benefit of shooting in the studio is that it's quick and easy, but the drawback is it doesn't have a lot of visual elements to it. Only one camera is recording at a time, so there's not a lot of variety. Almost all of our productions look the same because they're shot in the same location, and they're big, bulky cameras, so they can be hard to maneuver to get really creative shots. But let's say you choose to shoot your show on location or in the field. We'll typically bring 2 cameras with us, one that will be on you, taping you the other time of the whole time, and one will be on your guest, taping your guest all the time. With 2 cameras recording simultaneously, we always have a choice of camera shots. Plus, the cameras are smaller, so we can really get in tight and get some nice creative angles. But the downside is that we have to bring a lot of equipment with us, and we have to edit it, which is time-consuming. Each producer will have to decide what is more important to them, creativity or ease and time. Over the years, many people have asked me what our volunteers get out of all of this, from producing a show or helping us with productions. Well, it really does depend on the person. Some people truly want to share their knowledge, while others want to learn a new skill. But there have been some over the years who have wanted and expected to make a career over it. I'm very upfront with them and tell them that the chances are very slim. I don't want to squash their dreams, but I also don't want to give them false hope. Why are the chances very slim? Well, because I mentioned earlier, we really can't compete with the broadcast networks, Channel 4, 5, 7, or PBS. Their equipment is usually better. They have more personnel, lots more money. But what we provide is the opportunity to experiment and hone your craft. Unfortunately, some people just won't take no for an answer. I had one volunteer when I worked in Wellesley who produced a children's program. It wasn't really that original a show. She brought in some kids, she sang some songs, she read a story, and they put on a skit that somehow related to the books and stories that she read. She was so convinced that her program was so unique and so original that it would be picked up by PBS, that despite my warnings, she took out a second mortgage on her home. Yep, I think you know where I'm going with this. And she hired a professional production house to produce a pilot episode, which looked exactly the same as ours, just nicer scenery. Well, let's just say she never sold the show, but she did have to sell her house. But that's not to say some people don't succeed. I had a volunteer who came to me when he was 11 years old, and I just knew, everyone who met him knew that something great was going to come his way. He wanted to be a reporter, and after going to Harvard, he received a Fulbright scholarship. And after that, he got a job at CNN, and he was in Atlanta for a year, really cutting his teeth. And then he said he wanted to be a reporter abroad on location. And he was about 23 years old at the time. So they sent him to Bangkok, which is a typically slow news area. But the tsunami hit when he was there, and he was one of the first reporters to go live because he was based there. He was 23 or 24. He was doing live cut-ins with Wolf Blitzer and Paul Azan. And after a year, he said, all right, Bangkok is done. I want something bigger. And they sent him to Baghdad. And he was stationed in Iraq. He was the first American journalist to report on the execution of Saddam Hussein. And then it was around the time of the 2016 election, and he just felt connected to then Senator Obama, and he quit CNN, and he went to Chicago and said, I'll do anything, I'll even volunteer for your campaign. And they hired him eventually, and he became a staff writer for then Senator Obama, and then he went to the White House with him. He's gone on to some amazing things. So some people do succeed. I always say to him that he got his start because I gave him a chance. And of course, I'm joking. It was all up to him. But he does recognize that we did give him that first love, that first foot in the door as well. But getting back to Walpole Media, there's so much more one can do besides produce a program. If you don't want to be in front of the camera, there are all sorts of technical skills that you can learn. You can learn how to shoot and edit stories. You don't need to know anything about production. We'll train you so that you can learn our cameras, learn how to edit, learn how to record crisp, clear audio, and so much more. We also teach 21st century skills like Photoshop, building a social media presence. We'll even teach you how to use your cell phone. It doesn't have to be anything about our equipment. If there's something that you want to learn and we are in a position to teach you, we will teach you. So where are we? We're located in the high school, and our studio space is an active teaching facility during the day. The teacher, Pete O'Farrell, teaches intro to video production and advanced production classes. Students in the class learn the basics of shot composition all the way up to creating news stories and more. Every morning, students come in before school starts to produce the daily announcements as well. So he has a lot of dedicated students. So let's take a quick tour of the studio. I don't think you can hear this.
The lifeblood of the operation. This is where we do studio shoots, control the audio, graphics, and
So this is our control room. This is our switcher. And the red light that's lit up is showing you what camera is being recorded. Now I switch to camera 1 because the red light now is on camera 1. And if I want to click on camera 3, the red light's there, and that's live. This is an image of students who do the daily morning program. This is our audio mixer, where we can control the microphones and all sorts of audio sources. And the green lights are determining how loud or how soft the audio is. And this is a microphone. We also have a teleprompter. So if you want to do a show and you have a script, you can just give it to us and we'll load it in. And this is what the person reading it sees. The lens of the camera is right behind that script. You can't see it, so it looks like when you're reading, you're looking right into the camera. This is the news desk where students produce their daily program. And we have a green screen like what you see when you're watching the news. The meteorologist is standing in front of a green screen, and the map is digitally inserted. And it can be used for anything, whether you want to show that you were on vacation in China or whatnot. This is just another image. We also have a larger curtain that we can use. Oh, and also, sorry, I'm listening to what I recorded. Originally, it was a blue screen, but they had to change it because when it came out, Walter Cronkite was the lead anchor, and his eyes were bright blue, and so they were bleeding in, so now that's why it's a green screen. Again, this is an image from the news and another angle of our studio. And so this is another area where we tape some shows. It's not a real brick wall, it's just a set, but it's supposed to make it look like it could be a cozy living room. And again, another angle zoomed out so that you see all of the different cameras, and there are a lot of cables on the floor. And then we've got studio lights. We need a lot more light in video production than we do just having a conversation. But now they're LED, so they don't get hot. When I first started, it was about 10 degrees hotter in the studio than it was outside of the studio. to this. Sorry. Yeah, some of you can hear. All right, and we can also, this is a shot of the classroom where Mr. O'Farrell teaches. And wherever you see a chair, you see there's a computer there. And each of the students has his or her own computer to use where they can edit. This is our production van that's parked outside of the studio. And I don't know how many of you remember, but during COVID, when we did town meeting outside on the football field, that was an image of us recording it. Okay, so that was the tour. So, as I said earlier, hopefully you've all watched it and a lot of people raised your hands. But if you don't know how to find us, if you subscribe to Comcast or Verizon Cable, you can watch the public channel on Comcast Channel 8 or Verizon Channel 9, the education channel on Comcast Channel 12 or Verizon Channel 29, and the government channel on Comcast Channel 22 or Verizon Channel 30. So, if you don't subscribe to cable, or you'd like to watch us on your smartphone, your tablet, or computer, you can go to our website at www.walpolemedia.tv. I've put together a couple of short videos to show you how to navigate our website. So here's a quick video that shows you how to watch our programming live, or as we say, to stream it. So you go to the streaming tab that's in orange and you pick the channel that you want. I've chosen Walpole Media, the public channel. And a window will populate. And if the video doesn't start playing immediately, you just hit the play button. And when we don't have active programming, when we have our community bulletin board. So now I'm going back to streaming to the government channel, excuse me. And at that time, it was showing an Economic Development Commission meeting. And you can see in the lower left-hand corner, we've got captioning. We are able to close caption the government programming, which has really been helpful to a lot of people. Okay, so now I wanted to show you a short video if you wanted to watch any of our programming on demand. For example, if you wanted to watch one of the chair yogas and you missed it on a Friday at 9, or you wanted to watch my talk again, you would click the On Demand button, and it would take you directly to our YouTube page. And this is just a bunch of different videos. If you wanted to, you could click the video tab up on the left, and it shows the latest videos first. So if you were looking for a specific municipal meeting, if I go up to the playlist tab, I can scroll down until I find the Council on Aging programming, which will be coming up. And I click on the icon for Walpole Council on Aging. And in the right-hand side of your screen, it lists also from the newest to the oldest, all of our programming. And the most recent program will start to play. Finally, if you wanted to find out when a specific program was going to air, you could click on our TV schedule tab and pick the channel that you want. So I've chosen the public channel. And then you click the full schedule button, and it shows you what's playing at what time. Now, we also have a news program that we started during COVID. It started just as quick highlights of some of the municipal meetings, but we've now added a lot of segments on some of the people and places that make Walpole so unique. We do it once a month, and I'd like to show you a quick clip of the introduction. And unfortunately, you're not going to be able to hear much of the audio either. I apologize for that.
Farrell.
And I'm Jessica Kurgo. Thank you for joining us for our first 2024 installment of Walpole News Today.
So those are our anchors. The man, Pete O'Farrell, is a teacher I spoke of. He teaches at the high school. And the woman on the left, Jess Kurgo, is our news producer. So one of the most frequently asked questions I get is how we obtain our funding. The town has a contract with both Comcast and Verizon, and a very small portion of your bill, if you have Comcast or Verizon, is earmarked for Walpole Media. How small? 25 cents is a big amount, so we're talking pennies. So those fees must be spent on cable access or other cable-related services. It's important to point out that it does not cost taxpayers a penny. We have zero impact on the town's budget. The franchise fees, that money that we get from cable subscribers, is calculated based on your cable bill alone. So if you get internet but you don't get cable TV, we don't get any of your money. If you keep your phone and internet and cancel your cable, same thing. Our funding decreases. Nearly every public access station has seen a decrease in their revenue due to cord cutting. Because remember, our funding only comes from those people who subscribe to basic cable. And with all of these streaming platforms, people have been, as they say, cutting the cord. And we've been losing revenue. So people who have chosen to get Disney Plus, Hulu, Apple TV, Netflix, etc., but not their local cable, have basically made a decision that impacts us. So I want you to consider these statistics. Netflix has 80 million subscribers. Hulu has 50 million subscribers. Disney Plus has 134 million subscribers. Apple TV has 25 million. And Amazon Prime has 160 million subscribers. That's a lot of people. Now, that's not to say that every one of those persons also cut their cable and they don't have cable. But you can see what we're dealing with. And according to the Nielsen ratings, traditional TV usage is below 50% for the first time ever, as streaming took up a bigger chunk of consumers' viewership habits. That's a lot of lost revenue for PEG access stations. Local television is part of the glue that binds communities together. Whether you watch it a little, a lot, or never, you need it. You just may not know you need it. So if you have an idea for a show, or if you want to learn more about how you can become a volunteer, or if there's a program or an event taking place that you think we should cover, please get in touch with me. And there's my email address, or you can call me at the studio, and all of the contact information is on our website. And let us know, and we will always try and accommodate you. Thank you very much. Yep.
Can we watch the high school program?
When you say the high school program,
High school news thing.
no, you can watch it. It's on the Education Channel. I believe it's at 8:40 every morning. Yeah, anyone can watch it. Did you ever hear? Mm-hmm.
Yes, I went to Walpole High, so I'm just wondering, where is your studio in the high school?
So if you couldn't hear, the question is, where is our studio located in the high school? Do you know where the tennis courts are? Okay, so if you're standing with the tennis courts off to your left, our entrance is door number 9. It's right in front of you, and our production van is parked right out front, so you can find it that way.
That's where I graduated in that little spot.
She graduated in that little spot. Yes?
You from outside of town, can you like go on vacation and
As long as you have access to the internet, you can view our programming. We can find out where people, when people go to our website, we can find out where they're from. And we've had hits from literally all over the country and all over the globe. It does not mean that people from Paris are watching us and chose to go on our site, but they found our site. And my feeling always is if one person clicks on our programming, it's another eyeball, and it's the potential for another eyeball after that and another after that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's, yeah, so that's, we've been discussing that. We can do that. Yeah. So this is something that's very specific to Linda. She did create a video for RTM, and someone put it on a site called archive.org, and so she's been working with me to try and get it off. So it's a long, yeah. We're not quite sure what happened or how it happened or why someone would have done that, but we're working on it. Any other questions? Thank you very much. And again, Jim has a question. Yes, so if you want to, you can go to our website to find out, to click on the TV schedules and find out what programs are airing at what time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. Comcast did not tell us that. Thank you. Yes?
For those of us who have cut the cord, is there a way to donate directly to Walpole Media?
If you would like to, we would not turn away. I want to give you a quick example of that. I'm glad you brought that up. We had a volunteer many years ago who was also a custodian at the high school who tragically passed away. His name was Jeff Matson. And his mother, Mrs. Teresa Matson, wanted to make a donation in his name to both Walpole High School and Walpole Media. And she gave us a significant amount of money, $15,000. And we took that money and we gave it directly to the Walpole Scholarship Foundation so that we could create a scholarship in Jeff's name in perpetuity, so his name will last forever, and we can give money to a deserving college student. But we do get the occasional donation, and that would be spent on equipment or whatnot. So if anyone wants to make a donation, I'm certainly not going to say no. Any other questions?
Why doesn't the state give you money?
The state, it's,
Lottery ticket sales?
yeah, no, the state doesn't give us any money. We do, it's a national issue. It's a national, Comcast, Verizon, RCN, they have created these contracts and these rules. It's basically their ball field, and we're just playing on it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just found out on the news that on August 16th of this year, Channel 25 is going to be here for
Oh.
Zip Day.
Oh, that's excellent.
Zip here, and I'm sure that you'll probably hear about that and that we'll produce some things native, to the town.
Sure. So if you didn't hear, in August 25th, did you say?
16th.
Sorry, August 16th, Fox News is going to be doing one of their zip trips here. I suspect it has something to do with the 300th anniversary. Yeah, thank you. Well, I'd like to thank all of you for listening to our talk, and hopefully I was so pleased to see so many hands raised, people who know about us and watch our programming. So please, don't be shy. Thank you.